Okay, so we'll get started. We're just gonna keep going through fourth mode, brief Stakira from St. Anthony's. I believe we got as far as the end of the Stakira, Stakira number 7, and now we're on the dogmatic Theotokian, as far as I recall.
Yes.
And you need one? Or?
Yeah, because I don't know what happened to my copy.
Okay.
I was rearranging stuff.
Sure.
Perpetual effort to get things organized, and I think I might have lost it.
Let's see.
It's in here. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Oh,
Got it?
No, I got it. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yay.
And then, and ahead of time, I sang a lot this weekend, and so my voice is on the tireder side, and so I apologize in advance if it's either lower than it normally is, or if I sing something and it doesn't exactly come out. But it should be fine. It should be okay. So
it's all to the glory of God.
Yes, indeed. So we'll start with the Glory to the Father on page 198 from St. Anthony's Monastery.
Oh, we will have verse 8.
No, we didn't do verse 8, 9, and 10. Mostly, we said, because normally the saints, the hymns of the saint are never in the same tone as whatever the resurrectional tone is. So you hardly ever use them. It's good, like if you wanted to know how to improvise off of that verse. It's good to kind of read through it, but for our purposes, it's very seldomly used. At least I've never used them that often. So except as examples. So the Glory to the Father, Legetos, and we'll just sing glory. We'll just sing it with the words, and then the dogmatic Theotokian we'll sing with Nipavu. So, glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Keep going. Both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Any questions on those? I think that pretty straightforward. I hope the sight reading is getting easier. I'm hoping. So the dogmatic Theotokian. This one, I don't believe there's anything tremendously weird. So we'll just go through it slower with the on Nipavu, and then we'll see how it goes.
Just the occasional sharpened paw.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the only thing that really enters here.
Oh, thanks for the heads up.
Got all my circles.
Okay, so Legetos as vous. What's our first note?
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Kevi gavu gavi ga kevi di gavu pavu gavi di keni zor kevi Vugavidi keviga vugavidi gavu pavugadi gadi vugadi gavu vu pavugadi. Wait a second, we'll stop.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we weren't going without you. So, Vu for Christ. Vu pa vu gadi gavu gadi kezodi kezozo kedi Gavu gadi gavu ni pavu gavu gadi gavu pa vu gavu gadi kevi kevi ga kevi gavu gavi gavu pavu gavi kezodi nizo kevi kezo kevi vi kega vi gavu gavu ni pavu ga gavu vi pa pavu ga vi gavu pa zo ke vi ke ni zo ke zo ke vi gavu ga vo pavu ga vi ke gavu pavu ga vi ke gavu pavu gavu. Okay.
Oh, that last
Then we do the
mercy.
last part.
Yeah. So we'll go over the last part, and just before that, on the third line from the bottom, and by his own will uniteth it. That kind of goes by really quickly, and we have a jump up of how many notes on unite?
5 notes.
Yep, jump up of 5 notes. So it seemed like everyone did it fine, but I'm not sure if that was because I did it fine. But pavu gavi gavu pavu gavi kezo. So that 5 notes to zo from pa zo kevi. And then at the end, mercy. So did that make any sense? You want to just
Yeah, we need this. Let's parse this.
okay?
Yeah.
So let's see. So we'll start on V. Abundant. And then mercy. And then so, and then we have the rest at the end. So I assume this makes fine. Abundant.
Mhm.
And then this one, how many beats does it get?
Half.
And then this one, how many beats?
I think it's half.
I guess half. How about this one?
I think it's half because of the little one in front of it, right?
So
That one.
it gets half, yeah, because
Yeah.
of that one. So half and a half. This one is 1/2 as well. And then this one is technically 3 if it had nothing else, but it's actually how many beats?
2.5 now.
2.5. And then this is 1/2, the
1/2.
first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is 1. Because there's 2 in there. Right?
Oh, right.
And then this is 1. Or is it 1? Because we go down here. So this one is 1/2. Because of this guy. This one is 1/2 because of that guy. And then this top one is 1. And then this is 3. Does that make any sense?
The top one is one.
I think I need remedial.
So,
Having.
so 1/2, so first we'll go this symbol. If it has this, then it is the bottom, followed by the top. That's our order. And then this guy always goes on our kendimata because that makes it an unstressed syllable. So this always puts it on the end, the one end, so it's not on a strong beat. So then this always goes on this guy. So then 1/2, 1/2. But then this guy is affected by this guy, so 1/2, 1/2. This guy is affected by this guy, and he's also sitting on the first one of these in the Iporoi. So the first one is 1/2. This one gets affected by it. The second one is regular.
Mm-hmm.
then this one is affected by this Gorgon. This one's affected by this Gorgon. This one is regular, 1 beat, and then 3 beats. So then it's abundant mercy.
Wait. It's the other way around. Not the
Yeah.
Gorgon. It's the whatever that thing. I can't remember
The
the name.
other one. The last one.
Oh, is it? Oh. Ah, yes. Okay. So that changes things
Right.
slightly.
Okay.
Makes this how many beats? Instead of 1/2 and 1, it is
I don't remember.
2.
2.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this one, it's just one more. If it's this way, then it'd be let's see, this followed by just a plasma on top. So. Okay, so.
All right. So,
Abundant mercy. Rest. Should I do it slower? Do you want to sing it with me?
Slower.
Does that make sense?
Sing it with you. Slower first.
So-
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out what happens with that.
Which, this one down here?
Starting at pa. With that.
Oh.
No. Up farther. Keep going. Yeah. No. Farther.
This?
Yeah. Right. No. There. Not
Oh.
pa.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, like why it's 1/2 or?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. The rhythm at the last couple of notes there.
Okay. So we'll start 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3 and 1, 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Did that 1 and 2?
All right. So he ends up with a half. Is what happens with that.
Yeah. Yep. So 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why the other thing that helps you out here a little bit is that you have a 3 here, and then you have this guy, our bar. I don't know if there's a word for that, but I don't know it. Little bar on top of this, and we discussed.
Which bar?
There's a little bar
There's a.
over the equal
Here.
It's nowhere. Yeah, right there. But your handwriting's over it. But there's a bar there.
Okay.
And so that just helps us. That only helps us right in here. Doesn't really help us at the end. But
And
if
the bars.
everyone remembers, the reason why the bar is above the note instead of in the midst of the note, like that, is because if we count 1, 2, 3, this is 1, 2, and, or 1, 2, 3, and. So this one gets 2.5, and then the third beat is in the midst of this EPOV. So we can't put the bar anywhere except over top of it to kind of cut it in half. So technically, it's not on. It's technically this guy, and there's a bar right there. But instead of doing that, because we have a different symbol, they put it on the top to tell you that it's in the midst of a combo symbol.
Mhm.
So is this what it's equivalent to? I mean, is that what we're singing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me a. So.
I know, the ones when they go backward and then they mix them with the forward ones, it really throws me.
Yeah. So. So this is. That's what you wrote, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, let us. Shall we sing it? Do you want me to sing it again? Let's sing it together, and we'll sing it slow. From let's do maybe great and abundant we'll start on great and abundant right at the end.
Okay, it sounds blue, right? That point. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, great and
will
abundant
be-
mercy. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, thee. So, Vike viga voga vike viga vo voga vo.
Okay.
And I'm holding these notes for, like at the end, I held it for 3.
Uh-huh.
Oftentimes, a lot of chanters, they'll go 1, 2, off. That's just what they end up doing. So it says 3, and then there's supposed to be a rest, but oftentimes people just cut it off on the 3rd beat, depending upon... In this case, you don't need to breathe. Sometimes they do that to give you a beat to breathe. But here, sometimes they just cut it off early. Should we do it again like that? Should we do it slower?
That was a good speed. Yeah,
That was a good
yeah.
speed.
Okay. So, great and abundant. Vike viga vuka vuga vike viga vu pavuga vu.
Okay.
Should we... Is that satisfactory, Patricia? Or I don't know, anyone else?
Patricia's having problems with the new band thing, so
It'll offend you
Patricia's
guys.
going to have to wait and just let it sink in.
I mean, rhythm is one of those where you got to read ahead anyway, and so it gets kind of weird. But the one thing that sometimes I know helped some people that I was talking with was when you get like a lot of times when you do chant, you know, people will just tap, and this is the beat, and then this is one end, and so then that's always, you know, 1 dun, da 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 da, and some people have found it very helpful. I don't know. So and sometimes you do see at the chanter stand, like the head chanter doing this the entire time, but thankfully it's on a wood chanter stand, and so it doesn't make very much noise. At least not more than what the chanters are making. So, alright. So, barring that ending, anything else? Everything else was pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty
Okay. So, shall we go from the beginning again with the words?
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's do just he that on thine account is not God's ancestor, and the thine here is the mother of God, because it's a Theotokian. So, and he is Christ, of course. Legatos. He that on thine account is now God's ancestor, the prophet David did aforetime in melody say of thee to him that hath done great things to thee. The queen stood at thy right hand, for Christ God, who was pleased to become incarnate of thee without Father, that he might save the world, has shown thee forth as the mother and cause of life, that he might restore his image corrupted by the passions, and having found the stray sheep lost in the mountains, and taken it upon his shoulders, he bringeth it unto his Father, and by his own will uniteth it with with the heavenly powers, O Theotokos. For he hath great and abundant mercy. Okay. And at the end, just it's all halves. It's mercy. So, if the rhythm doesn't make initial sense, at least orally, we can still do it. The only thing right at the tail end, the C, E, oftentimes to just end it as C is kind of boring. So oftentimes C, kind of just nuancing it, or C, something in there. I just do what feels good in terms of the music, based upon.
Oh, you younger folks.
Yeah, just do what we feel good.
Feel good.
It's our.
Can you do it so we can hear you?
Sure, the C. So I gavu pavu. Just that.
If you can just sing the last line.
Oh, sure. Great and abundant mercy. Is it?
Very nice.
So, so that's the only kind of nuanced thing in here. Besides that, there's not very much to nuance. Okay. Any questions before we sing it a little faster with the words? Okay, so glory to the Father, followed by both now, followed by the dogmatic Theotokion. Oftentimes we will split the glory in both now if the saint has a glory, and then they would get the glory. But for the moment, we will assume that we have nothing. So
say that again. You do what?
So if the saint has a glory written for them for Vespers, then you
Those
sing.
are saint specific.
Yeah, well,
When you say what does that mean that they have a glory written for them?
so like let's say Saint John Chrysostom is tomorrow.
Okay.
He's pretty big, so he has his own glory written for him. So
right.
yeah tomorrow, the
That was in
13th.
January.
Oh, he's also in January.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow is his actual feast day by himself.
Mhm.
In January is his translation of his relics, I believe, to Constantinople, and then the 30th is when they made an appeasement to have all the hierarchs the three hierarchs.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, no, John is the best. No, Basil's the best. No, Gregory's the best. And then they all had feast days right around each other, and then they were like, let's just have one feast for all three.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so he is
Okay.
many. Given that he is many, he's a big feast guy. He also has small vespers as well. Like there's
What
small.
does that mean? He's got his own glory. I mean,
Oh,
can you say glory
back to that.
and it's in
Yeah.
part.
So we sing glory. It's in Plagal 2. So the glory would be in Plagal 2, and then he has a glory. His hymn is O John, thou of golden speech. You illuminated the whole world by your excellent exegesis of the scriptures of God, and goes through all that. And so he has that glory, and then the both now for him is for the Mother of God. But because he's so big, he gets a resurrectional both now. Whereas if it's just a regular weekday saint, they don't get a resurrectional one. They get a very small one that's written to a prosomia, and it's just a generic hymn to the Mother of God. But St. John Chrysostom, because he's big enough, they forego any of that, and they just go straight to the resurrectional stuff or the dogmatic stuff, and use that. And that's normally a key that you have a big guy or a big woman, an important guy or woman, is what they're both now is, and whether or not they have a glory. And if they have a glory for Lord I Have Pride and the Apostica, then it's good. And if they have a whole Latia section written for them, then it's even better. And if then that normally implies that they have Old Testament readings, and they have then it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And then St. John Chrysostom, in addition to St. Nicholas and a few others, they have great and small vespers, which means that you're technically supposed to do an all-night vigil, because you do small vespers earlier in the day, and then you have a meal, and the meal is supposed to give you enough sustenance to go through the night, to start with Great Vespers and to do Great Vespers for a few hours, and then to go straight into Matins and to do Matins for even more hours, and then to finish it up with liturgy, maybe at 4 or 5 in the morning, or depending upon when you start. If you start at 1 in the morning, then you go probably till noon or so. If you start at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., then you go till 4 or 5 in the morning, and then go to sleep. So, but does that answer your question in a rather elongated fashion?
Yeah.
So so they have their own glory written for them.
What makes it his? That's what I guess I don't get.
Oh.
Can't you sing glory in front of anybody still crying?
Well, you sing. So certain saints don't have any glory written for them. They have their specific hymns of the day, but then they have no big it's called a doxastikon. It's just it's kind of just a big hymn that they only have. It's not written for anyone else. It's not written to a melody. It's called an idiomelon. It's
Okay, yeah, I know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's that word.
the unique. Is that
Own melody.
yeah, its own melody. And so that some of them is a generic idiomelon. And that's
I know even in Obikoi, you hear the same thing to the martyrs over and over again.
but with sometimes you have it like let's say it's a saint of the desert. There's a lot of the saints of the desert,
Right.
and so if they're really tremendous, then they might have their own. But if they're just like a really good saint, but like they didn't do amazing things and they're not well known throughout the entire world, then they have like a generic idiomelon. So like you just replace Hilarion with Macarius
Right, yeah, I got
or
that,
something
yeah,
like
sorry.
that.
You're saying someone like John Chrysostom would have his own melody, and that would call for his own glory, like in a similar melody.
Well,
Is that what makes it his own? I mean,
no, he has somebody at some point said like they had such a devotion to Saint John that they wrote like a hymn that is only for him,
right,
and it's just talking about him,
right.
and so that's his glory. So we sing glory followed by that specific hymn, and then the both now is again for the
When you
Theotokos.
say glory, you don't really mean singing the glory.
Oh, it's just glory to the Father and to the Son and to the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit followed by his hymn.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Special hymn.
Which in English, I mean,
All right, so when you see that's
Oh, okay.
sorry, that was throwing me off.
Oh,
You're talking
oh.
about his glory. You're talking about the thing that you sing
we don't
after
sing,
you
we just sing glory. We don't sing glory to Saint John Chrysostom. We sing glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, followed by a hymn that glorifies whatever he
All
did
right.
on.
But it's sung in that position.
It's sung in that position.
And that's where
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Okay,
So it kind of
I'm sorry
splits that up. And in English, it's kind of hard because doxastikon, I think it just means like a glory hymn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So if I were to say like the glory hymn,
Oh, okay. Now I'm getting it.
I don't know, like there's no real English.
Yeah.
So glory hymn,
Gotcha.
the both now hymn.
All right. Well done.
Um,
Can't need him.
yeah, the Canaan. That's right. Yeah, they just say the Theotokian or the Stavro Theotokian for certain days
Okay.
if it's for the
All
cross.
right. Well, cool.
So does that?
It does.
Eventually, we got around to the
Yeah.
answer. So Allegetos, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. He that on thine account is now God's ancestor, the prophet David did aforetime in melody say of thee to him that hath done great things to thee. The queen stood at thy right hand. For Christ God, who was pleased to become incarnate of thee without father, that he might save the world, hath shown thee forth as the mother and cause of life, that he might restore his image corrupted by the passions, And having found the stray sheep lost in the mountains, and taken it upon his shoulders, he bringeth it unto his father, and by his own will uniteth it with the heavenly powers, O Theotokos. For he hath great and abundant mercy. All right. Cool. If you notice, somewhere in there you might have to swallow.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, you might have to pause for a little bit more time. So I was doing it. I was trying not to swallow as much as possible. But I was swallowing when you guys were singing something, and I just kind of stuck out for a second. But so in general, that's keeping it strictly to the rhythm. If you're doing it in Vespers, you don't want to be like, I'm gonna keep going because I don't think I have to swallow, and then in the midst of another phrase you end up swallowing. It's good to just kind of let's say bringeth it and like let's say at the end, and having found the stray sheep lost in the mountains, and taking it upon his shoulder, a bunch of lines from the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good place. And having found the stray sheep lost in the mountains, and taken it upon his shoulders. There's a pause. You can pause there. You can pause all sorts of places. Most of the time, I would suggest pausing if it's a vu. If you pause on pa, it assumes that you're gonna keep going because you're not holding on to pa. So you don't really want to stay too long on pa. But if you have to swallow, it's better to pause than to interrupt the melody. So, okay, any questions? I think that was a good speed. So I hope that wasn't too fast for people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on to the brief apostica, which again, apostica means that the hymn is on the verse or on top of the verse. The stikos. So instead of having the verse first, we have the verse after it. So we start with, O Lord, when thou didst ascend upon the cross. This is actually a prosomia. I think this hymn, originally written for the resurrection, became popular enough that they use it for other things, not very often, but it is used during Holy Week, I believe, and during Lent. And I couldn't find it in any of the books because they wouldn't use it in the books because it's a resurrectional thing, so it has its own book. But you have to know, it said, O Lord, when thou, and I was like, I couldn't find this. When is this? And then I realized that I did know it, I just didn't know that I knew it. So this is a good one to memorize, although it's not used terribly often, but it still is one that's good to know. So on Vugadi, legetos vudigavu vu pani pavu papa vugadi kevi gavu ni pavu gagavu dipa pavu gavi kevi gavu vu zozo kevi Gadi kevi gavu vu pavu gagavu gadi gavu pa vigadi kevi gavu. Okay.
It's the same, the Hades. Is this
Oh yeah.
recurring theme.
Yep. All the time.
Father.
Yeah, it seems, it comes back very consistently. And then there's a bunch of other ones that aren't as like memorable, but yeah, Hades, that melody is very, very recurring. The only thing I think that might need commenting is the fourth line, granting unto the race of men.
The jump to Zoe, yeah.
So I went up to Zoe Natural there. I would say you should go up to Zoe Natural with me. I don't think, at least it doesn't sound right to me. Granting unto the race of man. Doesn't make sense to me. Granting unto the race of man. The major thing is that we're kind of sitting on it for a minute. We're not just, if we did granting unto the, that would make more sense to have Zoe, because we're not.
To flat it, you mean?
Yeah, to flat it. But because we're actually sitting on it for an extra beat, stands to reason to keep it natural. And I believe that's what people do, and that's what I've heard. And it's all throughout the Akathist hymn. And it's always Zoe Natural. So because of that, and it's always when you kind of re-hit it, whenever you re-articulate Zoe multiple times, it retains its original character. So, granting unto the race of man. And I think that's it. Any questions other than that?
No.
Okay. So, on the words, O Lord, when thou legatos, O Lord, when thou didst ascend upon the cross, thou didst utterly obliterate our ancestral curse, and going down into Hades, thou didst set free those in fetters from all ages past, granting unto the race of man incorruption forever. Hence for this cause with hymns do we glorify thy life creating and saving, rising from the dead. That was a little fast, and I apologize for that. But the only thing on the fourth line, granting unto the race of man incorruption forever. If you notice at the end, it's incorruption, and then you have to look to the next line to realize that there's a rhythm there. A lot of composers try not to do that, but sometimes it's inevitable that you run out of space on the line, and then the rhythm is actually on the next line. Just further emphasizing the fact that you should read ahead. There's no way to get around that. The only way to get around that is if I read the hymn ahead of time, I put a little arrow that points forward to tell you there's something more. If
you're already ahead now. Now's the time.
Yeah. So there's something more than meets the eye here. It's a quote. What was that? Ninja Turtles or something? Where it meets the eye. But that's my generation and not. So let's read it a little bit more quickly, faster than you probably would, but more like if you were to do it prosomia, maybe this speed. So since we already did it slightly fast, we'll do it even faster. Legatos, O Lord, when thou didst ascend upon the cross, thou didst utterly obliterate our ancestral curse, and going down into Hades, thou didst set free those in fetters from all ages past, granting unto the race of man incorruption forever. Hence for this cause with hymns do we glorify thy life creating and saving, rising from the dead. Okay, so it kind of gives you a little bit more of the feel for the rhythm and how it can be a model melody. Was it too fast for people? Like, was it kind of keeping up?
It's a challenge.
Okay.
It's a challenge.
Gotta stretch a little something.
Yeah. Should we read it again that speed, or should we keep going?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. And then hopefully it'll, then you'll begin to see, rather than just remembering, it'll be actually reading it. So, O Lord, when thou didst ascend upon the cross, thou didst utterly obliterate our ancestral curse, and going down into Hades, thou didst set free those in fetters from all ages past, granting unto the race of man incorruption forever. Hence for this cause with hymns do we glorify thy life creating and saving, rising from the dead. Cool. Okay, now question. What happens when he descended into Hades?
Saved all the people.
All right, yeah. So it's very easy, and I was specifically paying attention so that when he went down to Hades, he set free those in fetters from all ages past. It's very difficult to pay attention to the hymns when you're actually singing them, unless you really make an effort, and it's tremendously difficult. And I don't know why.
That's why they always pray for those who sing.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're too busy doing other things.
Too busy singing to pray.
Yes.
What's the chanter at Saint Sophia's? He made some statement. He was like when you're singing the hymns, he was like, sing the hymns. He was like, don't be praying. And somebody was like, what do you mean I shouldn't be praying? He was like, all right, let me qualify. He was like, you should be ceaselessly praying. I'll grant it that. But he was like, don't go off into la la land and be like, oh, the majesty of the Lord. He was like, you have a responsibility as a church singer. So do the responsibility, and that is your prayer. It's the work of the people. So
that's what I remember reading a book about the Divine Liturgy and how, when you're doing the Great Litany and the Little Litany, that, okay, you've got the priest saying the stuff, and you've got the chanters responding. Somebody actually has to be praying.
Yeah,
so that's when I knew, okay, chanting isn't really as much as praying as it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, yes, it's a surprising thing, but it's one of those things where, there's a faculty of chanter, like there's people that are supposed to chant, and actually there's certain canons which say only the people that are, like, at least in Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, it was like only the people that are supposed to chant should be chanting. So that you don't, I think they had enough people in their huge mega dome of Hagia Sophia, like, I don't know, it can fit like 25,000 people or something like that. That, like, if you have that many people and everyone thinks like, oh, I'm going to sing, then, I mean, it can get very muddled, and plus you might have a bunch of people which are just yelling and like, granting unto the race of man. And so that's not allowed, and so it is said, let the chanters chant. But in our parishes, I don't think we have that much of a problem. So, but yeah, someone has to be praying, and that especially when one of my friends was in Greece, he said it was amazing that no one in the congregation, at least where he was, no one was really singing anything. No one was chanting with the chanters. But he said everyone was there, like, with bent down head and was praying, and he was like, it really impressed him, where everyone in America is like, I want the words, I want to know every hymn that's going on, I want to know exactly what's going on so I can validate what the chanters are doing or something like that. Whereas in Greece it was very much more everyone was praying, and that the chanters were cultivating an atmosphere of prayer. And they were doing as much work, if not more work, than the chanters were, because they were they were doing the real work of the people. So yeah, prayer is good. And the people should be doing it.
Chanting is good.
Yeah, chanting is good.
Chanting together at the same time can be really...
It's possible. Yeah, I think there's one of the monks in Mount Athos, there's a book written about him. I'll have to get the quote and forward it to everyone on the list. But it said, like, a question was posed to them. It's like, well, how do you pray while chanting? And he was like, watch me chant and you will know, or something like that. And it's kind of like, I can't tell you how to do it. It's just like, you learn from using an example. Someone who is praying, then you kind of take them as the example and learn from them. But I'll have to look at the quote, because it was a pretty impressive quote. It was pretty nice. But continuing on, verse number 2, I'll stick on number 2. That's our rule. The Lord is King, He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, and He hath girt Himself. Non paralegi, nini pavo. Pavu gavu pani pavu ga keke di gavu. Vi zo ke vi gavu di vu ga di vu. Pavu gavu di gavu pa. Vi ke zo ke di ke ga di. Ni zo ke di gavu ga di gavu. Vu pa vu ga di ke ga di ke di ga di vu. All right. Was that too fast for people, or was that an okay speed?
Maybe once through again at that speed would be okay.
Okay, because I'm trying to feel out whether how good the knees and paws are going. If you can just kind of.
That was a little. I missed some on that one. That was a little fast.
Okay.
I think.
So, anyone else fast? Was that kind of pushing it for speed wise for reading with the syllables? No. Okay. So we'll read it again on the syllables, kind of that speed again, and then we'll sing it with the words. And we'll keep moving on. Vu pa vu ga vu pa ni pa vu ga ke di ga vu. Vi ke zo ke di ga vu di vu ga di vu. Pa vu ga vu di ga vu pa. Vi ke zo ke di ke ga di. Ni zo ke di ga vu di ga vu. Vu pa vu ga di ke ga di. Ga di ke di ga vu Cool. All right. With the words while hanging upon the tree. And then as we go through, tell me what happens and that was laid in the grave. But we'll sing to that. Tell me afterwards. Vigavu. While hanging upon the tree, O only mighty one, thou didst cause all of creation to tremble. And when thou wast laid in the grave, thou didst raise them that dwelt in the graves, granting incorruption and life unto the race of man. For this cause with hymns we glorify thine arising on the third day. Okay, so what happened on and when thou wast laid in the grave?
What happened?
Yep, what happened?
The leg goes up, even though he was in the ground.
Right.
Go up.
But then it goes. What happens on grave?
Goes down.
The paw.
Then it goes down to paw. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was. We have this play on this laying in the grave, and that we a little bit of word pain there because you could have put paw on anything, but they put paw on that was laid in the grave. And you're right on laid. We have this kind of paradoxical. You know, it's this. Somehow an exaltation, but yet he's being laid in the grave. So, and then we see that fulfilled with "Thou didst raise them that dwelt in the graves" when it goes up. Okay, so a little bit faster, Apostolic number 2, starting with the verse number 2. The Lord is King. Legetos. The Lord is King, he is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, and he hath girt himself while hanging upon the tree, O only mighty one. Thou didst cause all of creation to tremble. And when thou wast laid in the grave, thou didst raise them that dwelt in the graves, granting incorruption and life unto the race of man. For this cause with hymns we glorify thine arising on the third day. Cool. How was that? Too fast? Was it okay?
That was good.
That was good.
Okay, verse number 3. Apostica number 3. Let me look at this. Okay. So, for he established the world. I always want to put he has.
Do too.
Yeah.
I always blow that.
For he established the world. In this context,
we sing that way?
I think we do. I don't know.
Established the world.
Yeah, I'm not sure where. I'll have to look at different translations because it's somewhere. It's either that or we're just weird. Yeah. Anyone else want to say for he has established the world? Legatos. For he established the world, which shall not be shaken. Let's do that one more time because the first part is really quick. For he established the world, which shall not be shaken. Non ni pavu. Pavu gavu vu pani pavu. Vudi gaga vudi pa. Vivi gavu gadi gavu. Gavu gadi pavu gadi vivi gaga vivu gadi gavu. We'll stop there real quick.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's the first time I've ever gotten so lost. I couldn't find my way in.
So was it the showing themselves ungrateful? Was that it right there?
Yeah, that thing's kind of
stripped apart there. Being crucified, and I don't know why, but it just.
Yeah, so I know it seemed like people got lost, and I was kind of like, it seemed like maybe we were going too fast for that phrase area, but we'll start there. Second line on pa, right before they condemned thee to be crucified. So, vigavu pa. Second line, they condemned thee to be crucified. So, pa. Vivi gavu gadi gavu gavu gadi pavu gadi gadi vu gadi gavu. Vizoke di gadi ke gavu. Vuni pavu vu gadi di ke nizoke di gadi gavu gadi gavu di gavu gadi vu. All right. Is it
something? I don't know why I lost it. I'm still going. Why am I?
That was a tricky one.
So, and I like Jeff. At least I heard on the second line from the end the God grant. I did thee, but I heard you do try and bounce around there, and so we will bounce around in a second. So any questions besides just little getting lost?
Oh, the second line from the bottom, God with the weird funky symbols.
Yeah, the God granting on and the synesmos. Dun 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 dun. I think we did that last week, right? Dun 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 dun. And if there was more time, God grant, but there is no time for that. God granting unto us, and I think it's just God. So it's just kind of bouncing into the next beat. So.
Okay.
And if you do happen to get lost, take courage in the fact that the dogmatic Theotokian said that Christ went and found the stray sheep lost in the mountains and took it upon his shoulders. So if you get lost and you think you're in the mountains somewhere, he took us upon his shoulders.
Just bleat, huh?
Yeah, exactly. He'll find you. So when the lawless people, O Christ, surrendered thee to Pilate with the words. So, Legatos, when the lawless people, O Christ, surrendered thee to Pilate, they condemned thee to be crucified, showing themselves ungrateful unto their benefactor. But willingly thou didst endure burial, and of thine own power didst arise on the third day, as God granting unto us unending life and great mercy. Now, I have a theological conundrum here for you. Now, this one. So, first, it's kind of interesting that the people condemned Christ to be crucified, showing themselves ungrateful to their benefactor. And what is it? A benefactor is one who, like, shows good to people and kind of, gives them good things. And so that's good. But then he willingly endured burial, and of his own power didst arise on the third day. But we have scriptures that says that God, the Father, raised Christ from the dead, not Christ himself. So, question. What does this mean? Is this a discrepancy? Is this a problem? Because if Christ emptied himself of his divinity, how can he raise himself?
Because it's 3 persons but one God.
Yeah, 3 persons but one God. But then, what is Christ's power? Is it his divinity that's raising him there? Is it somehow what's going on here? And we do have the 3 persons, one God, and Christ was always at the like Christ or God being outside of time. There's no time when Christ was not his divine self, but there's a time when he took on the humanity as well. So he's kind of.
And he saved because he was a human. He saved humans.
Right.
By rising.
And
human.
Right, exactly. And what I'd like to submit here, at least the way that I thought about this, unless anyone else has anything else to say in addition to what Laura said.
No. But I love the fact that you're raising a question I can't immediately answer. So
okay.
Go for it.
So, and this is where things, it can very easily, and I think this is where Obicod has a deficiency, is that we would have passed through this, and especially the longer versions of this, it gives you a chance to ponder. It's like, wait, what? And so, of thine own power, the power that humanity has, at least in my understanding of it, is to submit to God. And their power is to realize their own weakness and to realize that that they can overcome death through being sinless to a certain degree. And that the way that Christ overcame death was that death couldn't hold him captive just because it wasn't meant to hold him. Because he was the only sinless one, and Hades and where he went to in terms of death was meant as a holding place for those that were waiting the resurrection. But if he's the one that shows the original image, like we were created in God's image and likeness, if he's the one that restores that image and shows us what that image was supposed to be, that's his power. That's his power is as the sinless one, that being sinless, death can't hold him because it is through sin that death came into the world. And so if in the garden the people didn't ascribe to their image and therefore fell and therefore brought death into the world, if you come face to face with the image itself, which is sinless, and shows us how to not commit that original grievance, then how can you die? If death is based upon what we did, So that's at least my understanding. I don't know if that's satisfactory. That's his power, and that God does it, but it's by God does it because Christ submitted his own will to the will of the Father and allowed that synergy to take place. And so that power of Christ is his willingness to submit and his willingness to enter into that synergy with the Father. So Christ raised himself, kind of, to a certain degree. He raised himself by emptying himself of egotism and allowing the Father to do work, allowing the Father to do what he does. So does that make sense? Sure. Does that kind of allow this kind of point of splitting hairs to so this is one part where the hymns being poems. I think somebody I was talking to, they said that the hymns are confusing. They were like, they should be written in prose so we understand them. Even when they're written in prose, they're poems. They're meant to evoke some sort of depth and something more than what meets the eye, something more than what's written there. And so
makes me wonder what it's in the Greek.
Yeah,
I use like the Greek word power or some other word.
Yeah. Is it the I guess dynamis or what is what is the word there?
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
That's an interesting point you just sort of touched on, is that poetry might be superior to like explicating these things, in that it's not really going to be something you can explain in an essay because there's a lot of it's mystery. So obviously there's not going to be anything.
And some of the things, I mean, these are written. I don't know the Apostica who they were written by. Maybe Saint John of Damascus. I'll have to look. But I mean, these are saints that are writing all their hymns. Like in general, no regular person just gets to write a hymn. It's someone who has an affinity for being for writing poetic type things, has an affinity for the saint that they're writing for or for the resurrection, and has a deep understanding of the mysteries of God. And so
theologian.
Yeah, true theologian. And so being that they pray, if we ourselves pray, then the hymns kind of open themselves to us. But if we it's kind of, I think it's almost the assumption in that any type of thing, we should have the intellectual ability to be able to understand it, when it's not intellectual ability at all. It's a mystery, as you said. That if we're capable of understanding it, that's one thing, and if it gets revealed to us, that's one thing. But there's a bunch of things in the hymns where I know I've discussed hymns at length with Stefan Esper, who's doing the chant workshop, and sometimes we come to things and we're like, I have no idea what this is talking about. I have no idea what it's referring to. Somebody at some point wrote it and it made sense to them, and maybe in their context as a monastic community, or in their context as a writer of hymns, or in their context of a people at the time when they were being written, maybe it made sense. Maybe it's an allusion to something else that I don't know. But some things it's just kind of like, I throw up my hands. I am at a loss to understand what is being written. So, mystery is something that we deal with all the time. Let's sing it through one more time, quicker, and then we'll be done. on this confusing note. So, Legatos, for he established the world, which shall not be shaken. When the lawless people, O Christ, surrendered thee to Pilate, they condemned thee to be crucified, showing themselves ungrateful unto their benefactor. But willingly thou didst endure burial, and of thine own power didst arise on the third day, as God, granting unto us unending life and great mercy. Another interesting point, though, before we do finish, is that it says benefactor. And back to benefactor, I think back in the day, oftentimes a benefactor was somebody for artists, right? That you had a benefactor that would kind of sponsor your work or pay for you to do something and give you time. And all that we're asked for as Christians is to we're made in the image and likeness. we've lost that image, and we still have the capability of attaining to that image, but we've lost that image. We still retain that likeness. And so in essence, all we're supposed to do is recreate that image. We're supposed to be painters and paint, doing that. So to a certain degree, God is our benefactor, gave us all this time to paint something, something beautiful, something that is deserving of our life, and
or something sculpting away. I think of it like sculpting away, getting rid of all the
blood
and the garbage.
Yeah. And fashioning something beautiful from it. And so I guess benefactor is a pretty, again, a poetic word to use. There's more there. So, all right. Well, I'm done.
All right.
Cool. All right.
So you said you're not